I will have you on the screen, so if you want to give me the time, I can see you, and so I can follow your guidelines. So sorry again, and thanks to Laura for helping me. What I will do now is to make a lecture that will be useful, I think, and I hope, in order to understand how to manage an extreme scenario like COVID in a country like Italy, in which we were not used to do online teaching. We have some online universities, but the traditional ones were not using online teaching. And in 1 week, we were obliged to switch from face-to-face teaching to online. What I will present you is an example of a lecture that I have done last April, and it could be, I think, a good case study for understanding what we can do and how we can change our teaching approach. In the lecture was involved also one guy from the industry, that is Gianluigi Chiaro, that was working for and is currently working for a startup in the big data industry. So what was the original plan? And after we will go to the solution that we adopted. The original plan was quite easy. We are talking about big data. The idea was to understand the big data and try to understand for the big data what is the usefulness of big data for the residential sector, for the commercial sector, for different type of activities in the real estate industry. So theoretically, it was a face-to-face lecture in which we were planning to schedule every 1 hour, let's say, an application that could be done or a case study that could be presented with our students. The idea was to understand what is the role of the non-traditional features that could be analyzed by using big data on the pricing of real estate. The focus was on the housing industry because the master was prevalently focused on housing, so residential, instead of commercial. And the focus of the master was on existing real estate, so brownfield recovery, greyfield recovery, and so on, and not the new greenfield development or the new real estate development. The idea was to present the real estate portal, how it can be organized by using big data, what is the role of social media, what is the impact of retail and other features on the performance of the real estate market, how the green feature may matter for evaluating the building and the real estate investment, and how day-by-day services may have an impact on the value of the real estate. This was the plan, and the idea was to focus the attention on the impact for buyers and sellers, the impact for agency that could be relevant for the master, the portfolio manager choices, and finally, also if there is something related to government or local entities that may matter. The idea was to focus on a few case studies. One of them was the one from Area Proxima, the startup managed by Gianluigi Chiaro, and the idea was to have only Area Proxima as one of the guests. After the COVID and after the lockdown, we were obliged to change radically the idea because the type of activity that we were expected to do was totally different, and the time available is still the same, and so we need to plan how to use new technology in the same time slot. What we did was to change radically the idea of the course and to switch from a traditional face-to-face lecture to a flipped classroom with a lot of interactive activities. The issue was focus on brownfield and greyfield, try to identify how to classify them and so on. And this is a theoretical stuff that was provided to the students in advance. And during the lecture, we did only the brownfield evaluation and the impact on the performance. But in order to do it, we need to do something else, because when you teach online on the basis of our experience, normally you suffer of a lack of time, because the time necessary for learning for students is significantly longer. So instead of trying to give them all the guidelines for collecting data, we need to find a solution that is useful, is less time consuming, and allow us to understand easily what we can do with the data. What we did is to make an agreement with the startup in order to modify the setup of the data that you can collect from the startup and provide outputs that could be used easily for teaching. In order to give you an idea about our issue, the course was on real estate evaluation and brownfield. It was a master level course, so all people with a degree, but in architecture or in engineering. We don't have people from the School of Economics. The course was a 40-hour course, and each lecture was scheduled for 6 or 4 hours per day. So only one lecture talking for 6 hours or 4 hours in front of a laptop. The issues were how to manage time, how to raise the attention of our students, and finally, one of the issues that was analyzed and addressed also before, how to evaluate our students online. In order to do it, all the course was done with Teams. In order to do it, we asked to the company to help us in order to have a report that could be easily understood by the students and could be easily applied for our purpose, that was the evaluation of brownfield. So the final idea was to provide in advance all the materials and to do together online some assignments every day and discuss the results and discuss the implication of the results. So essentially what we did is to identify a data provider that is publishing a set of real estate on auction in Italy. So this is a data provider managed by the government that is selling buildings owned by the government, different types, so residential, commercial, whatever you like. For each of them, you have the description and the plan of the construction, the description about the area and so on, provided in the online website. And you can select as you like every type of building that is currently on auction. This is an example of a building that was and is currently on sale on the website on the city of Messina, so in Sicily, a small apartment, 50 square meters, with an auction price that is quite low because it's less than 30,000 euros. But it's a brownfield, so you need essentially to do a major refurbishment, to do everything inside the building before getting in. What we ask to Area Proxima is to provide us a simple interface for analyzing data. Sorry, but the platform is in Italian, and so all the screenshots that you will have over there are in Italian. So you have a standard access in which you can provide the address of the building. For the address of the building, you will have the map. Once you have the map, you will start collecting information about the market, like selling price, renting price, and expected return for renting the building. Everything immediately available in a plot that you can easily use. Some data about who is living in the area, so the population, the type of family, the type of extraction, and so on. Some features about what is the size, the average size of the families, the income, and the type of job. The supply that is in the market, so number of buildings classified for the size and classified if they are free or if they are already rented. And some services that are nearby, number of schools, number of universities, train station, and so on. Finally, the last aspect that you can find is also an information about some type of risk that may matter for the area. You know that in Sicily we have Etna, and so you have some risk related to earthquake, and you have also some risk related to rivers that were nearby the building. All this stuff is classified, and you have a ranking about the area in terms of risk. Finally, what you can do is, once you have selected your building, the yellow dot that you find over there, you can have a description about what is nearby by selecting the type of building, retail building, if you have schools nearby, what is the average age of the nearby areas, and so on. All this information are easily available for the students, and essentially in one shot and in less than 1 minute, you have a report that you can use. So once you have the report, you can try to organize an activity with your students by selling them a target and by giving them an expected output. Our idea was try to identify the maximum target acquisition price that you can fix for this type of building. Remember, it was the minimum below 30,000 euros, but they can try to buy even at a higher price. Identify if there are supply and demand features that may matter for the evaluation of the building, and it means try to provide a SWOT analysis for the building. And finally, try to identify if nearby your building, always in Messina, you can find the better or worse investment opportunities. This type of activity can be done by the students once they have the report in 1 hour or 45 minutes. So the idea is that you give them the report, you explain them the area, and after you give them the time necessary for analyzing data. And so you will have in the 4 time slots or the 6 time slots, time for doing like 4 or 6 examples of evaluation. What we learn from this type of activity that was for the first time done by us? First of all, that we have a lot of technology constraints. So sometimes students connect from their mobile phone without a connection with a wireless or a fiber, and so on. And so they cannot exploit all the opportunities related to internet, because sometimes they have constraints about it. The time necessary for doing the analysis is longer than what was in presence, and so you need to spend more time and give them more time in order to do it. And finally, in order to be successful, you have also to do, as instructor, the choice of the team. So if in the team there is only one leader and all the others will follow, the output of this group work will be not so good, will be significantly poor. If there is an interaction and if there is a debate, so the level of the people that are in the group is almost the same, probably the result that you can obtain is significantly higher. What we have learned from this first time experience online, that we have instruments that could be useful for teaching, that the COVID experience has created for us an opportunity to test technology. And this opportunity, I think, that could be useful also for the future. So also in the future, we can take advantage of using the technology, of using online. What we still miss in the real estate, or better, what I think that we still miss in the real estate, is something else. And this could be an idea for the future, and could be an idea for collaboration if someone is interested too. What I've done during the COVID with this example that I proposed you was to teach to people that were already people with a degree in architecture, engineering, and so on, really motivated to follow you during the lecture. Every time you try to teach at an undergraduate level with a bigger room, so let's say 100, 150, 200 people at the same time, normally you suffer more of a lack of interaction with the audience, and you suffer more on how to motivate students. There is no a solution that allows us to solve the problem, but there are some solutions that may help us. For example, I am from the School of Economics, and so we have developed a project for using gamification during our teaching activity. It was not on real estate, it was on management, but we asked to a provider that was HEC Montreal to provide us some games, business games, that could be done during the lecture in order to focus our attention on a specific topic. That could be the marketing strategy, could be the choice of the selling points for some goods and so on. The game was done by using SMP, that is the standard for this type of activity worldwide, and the feedback for this type of activity were outstanding and higher than expected. What is missed for us in the real estate industry is something similar to these games that could be useful at undergraduate level in order to be effective and provide ideas useful for the students. Thanks for your attention.
Very interesting. Terrific presentation. And I'm just struggling for the name of the academic in Queensland who did his PhD in gamification for properties and real estate. Graham might be able to show me his name.
Stephen Boyd.
That's the one. Thank you. Moving on quickly, we're going to have a very short time for questions afterwards, but there will be enough time. The next paper is Pandemic in Real Estate Education in Sri Lanka. Who have we got for that now?
Yes.
Jamal? Okay. All right, I'll pass it over to yourself, Jamal.
Yeah.